Hey guys, welcome. This is the 6th video in the series of pen reviews I'm doing, and if you haven't seen any other ones, I highly do recommend you watch them, or at least watch the first video, or if you really hate ballpoints, you can just watch the first half of the video. And then I detail what I'm going to do and explain how this series is going to work. Now I'm going to do I've done this in order of which fountain pens I acquired most recently. Obviously this is the first one, but I did have this pen here long before I had that one, but I've only recently reacquired it. So that's why I did that one afterwards. Now this here is a Parker Jotter, I believe, an older model. And basically I found this in a bin at college while I was disposing of a cartridge. And I was throwing it away and I saw this in the bin and I was like, what? And then it was a fountain pen, which is really interesting. So I'm not sure entirely why that was there. I wasn't sure in the first place actually, but now I know probably why it was. This here is a Parker, of course, so it will use the Parker standard cartridge, which is different from the standard international cartridge. As you can see, the hole is much bigger, it's much wider, and it's also much longer. Now you can get long versions of this, which I believe are the same length, but you know, just pop that in there, and obviously the ink would go down into the feed and right onto the paper, and that fits in there nicely, and that screws up. Now there is some visible damage to the barrel. As you can see, there is cracking, which isn't very good, but does mean that maybe one of the main reasons I initially thought that it might have been thrown away. But just a bit of cracking is not going to harm. It doesn't like fall apart. The cap is quite loose as well. Like I mentioned with this one, the cross, the cap was loose. This one's loose enough the way if you try to pull it out in your pocket, the pen would just stay behind, and then you probably get ink in your pocket and in your fingers, which isn't good. So the cap is loose. The whole thing was covered in ink all over, all inside the cap and all inside over the sections when I first found it, and that is because I'm not sure if you can see there is a big crack on the section, and ink, that's where the feed is, and ink comes out there all over the section into the cap. Probably why the pen was in the bin in the first place, and which is why I don't have it inked up with anything right now. This is just an empty cartridge, as you can see. Nothing special about that, just empty. The bound feed are removable. Just do be careful when you're pulling it out, because you don't want to damage the fins. I'm not sure if I can actually do that now. Just knocked over the cap, sorry about that. There we go. As you can see, come apart. Like I said, you don't want to damage the fins. I believe some of these are slightly bent already, but don't snap them off. Spin them back into place. Should be fine. Plastic feed. There seems to be 2 channels for some reason, which is interesting. Obviously that goes onto the nib. No nib grade actually written on the nib, it just says Parker, but on the back of the feed it says medium. I'm not sure how well you can see that. Well, it says M for medium. The nib nicely rests up on the back of the feed as well, so it's going to be perfectly aligned when you put it back in the into the section. And as you can see, the section is just circular as well. I'm not sure how well you can see the crack wherever it is gone. Here you can see it runs down from the section quite deep into it, which is obviously where the ink comes from, because the ink is all in the section going around the feed. It just makes ink go everywhere, which is a real shame. It's friction fit back in there. This pen has visible fins on the outside of the feed, which is interesting, which also allows you to fill up if you're using a standard Parker converter, which I do not have. I really do need to get one, but I'll describe that more in the next video, which is again a Parker. But actually a very nice design pen, I think. It's very lightweight, though, because it's all plastic, it's just plastic body. Even with a cartridge in it, it's quite lightweight. And that's fine if you just go in it naturally like this. I just knocked the camera, sorry about that. But if you decide to go posted, then it's weighted so back because this is solid metal, so that's very heavy. So if you do go posted, that's very heavy at the back, and that makes the balancing really uncomfortable. So this pen isn't really one you want to really post unless you go for a metal one, which I believe they do. So yeah, that's basically the pen. There is no breather hole on this style of Parker nib, as you can see. Just an engraving cutout there. Obviously this thing is not inked. This thing's got a very strangely shaped tipping. As you can see, it's kind of like at an angle. Don't know why, but kind of. It's very smooth though, even though it's got no ink in it. But yeah, literally found this in a bin. Cracked barrel, cracked section. This is very much unusable. It does have the Parker standard arrow clip though, which is nice and stiff. Top of the finial is just basic, nothing really there. Now, because there's ink in the cap, that ink actually can come out there as well, so it does leak in your pocket. And the end of the barrel is just a circle. This can be eyedropper converted, actually, probably very easily if the barrel wasn't cracked. So, because it's all sealed on the back. But if the barrel was new and the section was new, you could easily eyedropper this pen and have it as a very large ink storage. That pretty much sums up this review, really. Not much else really to say about that. It says Parker made in the UK. Date code is Y.I believe. Parker there. Interesting. Very interesting design pen. Nice shape, but shame about the cracked section and the cracked barrel. So the cracked section makes it pretty much unusable. So I hope you do enjoy this video. If you did, I want you to comment down below arrow, because I like to do that to see if people actually watch all the way to the end of this video. We just crossed 7 minutes, so if you have watched all the way to the end, comment arrow down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.